Hi everyone. Today my talk is going to be on, does Osteodouce work as a standalone modality? Does it work on anyone? Or is it only suited for those who are open to energy medicine? I mean, it definitely works, but I was, really wanting to know, does it only work on people who are open to it? The ones who are open to it seem to respond the best. And the ones who come to me for healing are obviously very open to spiritual healing. But I'm just wondering, for all the normies out there, all the mainstream modern medicine people, will it work on them if they have absolutely no faith or no belief that energy medicine does anything at all? So that was been one of my thoughts this year, and I had an opportunity land in my lap around August. A relation of mine who I only see maybe 3 or 4 times a year at family gatherings. We met up with him and his family, and his back was stuffed. It was like he had really bad back pain for a long time. They'd done everything. They'd done exercises, they'd gone to chiropractors, they'd gone to osteos, medications, things. It was just nothing was working. Every time I said, have you seen it? I'm going, yeah, we've seen an osteo. And, and they're going, it's got to the point where the osteo just didn't want to touch his back anymore, saying, we've done as much as we can. And I just thought, because I knew these people, I knew that they thought they were very mainstream. So I was like, this is an opportunity. So it was very important to get consent. So I asked him, I said, do you mind if I go in and have a really good scan and look around, maybe do some healing on your back? Would that be okay? And he kind of looked at me and went, yeah, sure, go for it. And I'm like, okay. He thinks it's a big pile of BS. Perfect. I get to see whether this actually works on someone who has zero faith or belief that energy healing does anything. So yeah, I went in that night afterwards. I came in and I was checking his back and scanning it, and the osteopaths had done a great job at lining up his lumbars. They were all beautifully in line. There was a lot of information on a couple of the discs. I can't remember which one exactly they were, but when I went to check his sacroiliacs and the muscles around that, they were all warped. His right ilium was really forward, his left ilium was way back, stretched as far as they could possibly be stretched. And then, usually there's tightness on one side of the muscles and, but not so much on the antagonist muscles of that side, but every single muscle, the agonist and antagonist, were all completely tight. They were all super, super tight. It's like his body was trying to make a man-made bandage to keep those lumbars from moving or shifting or doing anything. So everything was locked up. So that night I I harmonized the sacroiliac joint back into place. I relaxed and released all of those tight muscles around his lumbars and buttocks and hips, and just released all of them. Just worked on the joints, worked on the discs, just with the inflammation and such. And told my husband all about it. He's always fascinated by what I find. And then then left it for a week, and then I would occasionally check back on him once a week and see where he's at. And each time, his iliums had gone back. They all went back into those original positions. Muscles were always tight, so I released them. I did that about 3 to 4 times. I can't remember exactly, but it wasn't more than a month's worth of working on him. And towards the end of that month, I got a clear message from my guides, or spirit, or unconditional love, or the wonderful, beautiful, intelligent entity that works through me with Osteodouce, and told me, it's okay, Karen, he's good now, you don't need to do anything more. You don't need to do anything else, he's fine. And I went, okay. And went off, and I had other clients and other people and things to do. And so the next time I got to see this person was about a few weeks later when was it? September? I think it was in September. And he was a wreck. He was really, really bad, in a lot of pain, could barely walk. He couldn't really sit down for very long. And I was just like, crap, I've made him 10 times worse. Who was that voice telling me he was good, you know? And I started to doubt myself a little. So I was like, oh, okay. You know, I felt really bad. I thought, you know, they're still waiting for surgery. You know, he'll just have to get surgery. So I had a lot of doubts and conflicts in my mind about how well this worked on people who had no faith or belief in energy healing. And then flip forward a few more months, I started started studying pathophysiology. And one of the first things we learned was about chronic inflammation and acute inflammation and the inflammatory process. And things started to tick in a little bit, you know, that sometimes things had to get worse in order to get better. And that came across a few times in things with like really long-standing chronic conditions. Sometimes it's in this chronic inflammatory, which is just, it doesn't get better and it just kind of maintains this level of pain and non-functionality. It just kind of maintains it because it can't get into the root cause and pull it out and clear it up like it does in an acute inflammation process, which can do that and it resolves. This chronic doesn't. So in order to get that resolved, you know, you need to have almost another inflammatory attack on top of that to actually get things stirred up and moving and then get the root cause of it resolved. So that was kind of, I didn't think too much more about it after that. I was just noted that in my studies. And then come Christmas time, we missed them at Christmas. But then when I got home, I was told, such and such's back is perfectly fine. Like, he's got no more pain. And I went, what? When did this happen? I was like, you know, when did it get better? And da-da-da. And they're like, we don't know. And, you know, and I had an opportunity to meet up with him a couple of weeks later. And I kind of cornered him and asked questions. And I said, it's, you know, when did your back start to get better? And he was like, around November. It's like in the middle of November. I noticed when I got up, it wasn't hurting so much and I could kind of twist my torso and move around a bit more. And then over a course of a couple of weeks, it just went all together and it just left. And I was like, and I said, that's interesting. I was saying, do you remember, you know, back in August when I asked if I could work on it? And he was like going, oh, yeah, but, you know. And I was like, you know, when did it get, you know, tell me about it. And the wife was like, it got really, really bad before it got good. And I said, when it got really bad, those were the exact dates and times that I was working on your back. And they seemed surprised that I would admit that, because normally, you know, they probably thought I'd try and say, oh, I did it all in November. And it's like, no, they were the times when I went in and worked on your back. And, you know, and I described to them the chronic inflammatory process and how things sometimes get worse before they get better, and how I was told that I only needed to do that amount of work. So they were kind of nutting it over and thinking about it, because this was kind of new information, but I'm pretty sure they still think it's just some kind of miracle. But the thing that also made this a perfect experiment is that they had done everything and nothing else had worked. And then while they were waiting for surgery, there was no supplements, there was no exercises, they weren't doing anything else. It was like they were just waiting for surgery. And so the only thing that was different was me doing my Osteodouce healing on them. So to me, that is definitely a victory, and it's a definite sign that Osteodouce will work on anyone regardless of their belief system. It's not a placebo. It's a definite therapy. It's viable. It works. It works on people who still have no faith or belief. Even when they get healed, they still have no faith or belief that it works. It's just, he got better all of a sudden for no reason at all. He got really bad for no reason at all, and then it went for no reason at all. So that was a huge thing for me to learn, and it was a huge thing for me to deal with as well, because as an energy healer, and especially, I don't know if it's because of Reiki, is more kind of pain relief based. Everyone thinks, you know, you're an energy healer, I expect pain relief, you know, and then I'll get better. But that's not how the body works. for long-standing chronic cases at least. It can work for acute cases. You can do pain relief and help that inflammation, and that will go down and will be beautiful. Like, that is absolutely works that way, but sometimes it does need to get worse before it gets better. And that was a big lesson to learn as well, and a big lesson to have faith in myself and faith in my abilities. So that's my story. Yeah, guy's doing brilliant. He's doing his back's like a new back, and Osteodouce is brilliant. And I'm going to keep going, and I have a lot more knowledge now and a lot more experience, and I'm not afraid to work on people and let them know sometimes it may get worse before it gets better, but it will get better. It will. Okay, thanks a lot, guys. Bye.